Malacañan does not support the proposal to remove scholarships of the anti-government student rallyists, except if there is enough evidence against them on their involvement to topple the government. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
Malacañan does not rely on mere speculations. This is the government's reaction to National Youth Commission or NYC Chairman Ronald Cardema's suggestion to President Rodrigo Duterte to issue an order revoking the government scholarships of students who go against the government. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said being a member of a leftist group or joining anti-government protests is not enough reason to revoke the scholarship of government scholars.
Kung sinususpetsahan lang natin, hindi naman pa pwede. Kailangan meron tayong ebidensya ng mga parte nga sila ng mga grupo na laban sa gobyerno. Kung sila ay sumasama lang sa mga rally, that's right. That's a right. That's freedom of expression and freedom of assembly.
The palace also said, based on the law, there must be strong evidence against an individual who plans to destroy the government or who is involved in an armed struggle against it. Another form of rebellion against the government is when a person sows violence or incites sedition.
But if you use rallies to foment violence, to incite sedition, that's a different story.
Leftist youth groups blasted the NYC chair's proposal, saying it is against the freedom of speech. They also reiterated that the fund for government scholars is not from President Duterte himself, but from the taxpayers' money. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañang.
Competition will be stricter between the major telcos in the country now that the mobile number portability is signed into law. Monoxon explains why.
The National Telecommunications Commission has begun drafting the implementing rules and regulations of the newly signed Republic Act 11202 or the Mobile Number Portability Act. The NTC on Wednesday assured to complete and finalize the IIR within 90 days to implement the new law in the second half of 2019. The measure, signed by President Rodrigo Duterte on February 8, will allow mobile users to switch networks or subscription plans without changing their numbers. The law requires the public telecommunication entities to provide all qualified subscribers with nationwide mobile number portability, along with its information and features completely free of charge. The porting process should also not take more than 48 hours. The NTC, however, clarified that not all mobile users can be allowed to switch service providers, as postpaid subscribers need to settle first any outstanding account with their current network within 3 days.
If you avail of a benefit, dapat naman, you also must be aware of your responsibilities naman. Hindi naman po pwede. You avail of this kasi it will benefit you, may utang ka doon. Bayaran mo muna.
Barrios added that the new law is meant to encourage healthy competition among mobile service providers in providing consumers with the best overall value that they can offer.
For one network provider, para ma-retain niya yan, mag-improve yan ng serbisyo. Kasi ayaw niyang lumipat yan eh. Yung isa naman, i-attract niya yung lumipat, mag-provide ng better. So magpapagandahan niya. Lalo na pag may tatlo pa, pangatlo.
Under the law, a fine of 10,000 will be imposed against telcos when portability is not performed within the allowable period, while telcos refusing to provide MNP even after mediation may risk losing their franchise to operate and pay a fine of 40,000 to 1 million pesos. Meanwhile, the PLDT Incorporated and its mobile arm Smart Communication in a statement expressed support to the law and called on the government and other local telecommunications industry players to work together for its implementation. Mon Hoxon, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
President Rodrigo Duterte has signed the Universal Healthcare Bill into law. But what can Filipinos benefit from it? Grace Casin will give us details in this report.
68-year-old Shirley Caballero takes 4 different medicines every day. She says she spends 4,000 pesos monthly to buy her maintenance medicine, excluding her checkup fees.
Sa high blood, sa cholesterol, uric acid, at saka mga vitamins every day. At saka sa ano pa pala, sa sugar.
But now that the Universal Healthcare Program has been signed into law, Shirley can now visit her doctor for a checkup for free. Through the Universal Healthcare, all Filipinos will automatically become PhilHealth members. The new law will also expand PhilHealth coverage, which will include free medical checkups, diagnostic services, and laboratory tests. Filipinos who have no capacity to pay for medical expenses may now avail of free checkup, including medication for common illnesses such as colds, cough, tuberculosis, cholera, and measles. However, cancer and other complicated cases are not covered under free medication.
Magpapacheck up na rin po sila. Ang aim po natin dito para hindi na lumala yung sakit. Hindi na umabot na kailangan pa sila confine sa hospital. Hindi na mas lalala yung sakit at lalaki yung gastos.
The government will allot 219 billion pesos in the first year of implementation of this new law. It will come from sin tax collections. Meanwhile, current PhilHealth members are encouraged to pay their premium regularly so the agency can help more Filipinos who are in need. All government scholars with health-related courses are required to attend their services in remote villages for at least 3 years. Complete regulations for the implementation of the law will be stated in the Implementing Rules and Regulations or IRR. Grace Casim, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Metro Rail Transit Line 3 or MRT3 has lifted the ban on liquid items which was imposed as part of heightened security measures following recent bombing incidents in the southern part of the country. In a statement on Wednesday, the MRT3 management said liquids such as bottled water, perfume, among others that have volume capacity of more than 100 milliliters may now be brought by passengers inside the train stations and coaches. However, passengers have to test these items by drinking the water, spraying perfume, or using the lotion or rubbing alcohol in front of the MRT security personnel. For its part, the management of the Light Rail Transit Line 1 or LRT1 said it would continue implementing its ban on bottled water and other drinks. The Quezon City government has asked the MMDA to delay the closure of the Tandansora flyover for a week. John Nano tells us why.
The Quezon City Council has recommended delaying the closure of the Tandansora flyover and intersection along Commonwealth Avenue for 3 days to 1 week after a public hearing held at the Quezon City Session Hall today. Quezon City Vice Mayor Joy Belmonte said the local council believes this is a reasonable time to implement the necessary preparation and coordination for the impending flyover closure and demolition based on the results of public consultation.
We are the LGU. We have no idea what's going on. That's why Congressman Winnie and I are in a state of panic. My barangay officials were in my office wondering what was going to happen on Saturday. And these are the barangays that will be affected by this.
The local government conducted a hearing in response to the appeal of several homeowners association in the city and the private sector to defer the closure of the Tandansora flyover and intersection due to lack of proper consultation and preparation over its possible impact on traffic as well as on residents. The homeowners group complained that the MRT7 project contractor EEI Corporation had not consulted them on the matter. Also, there are no traffic signs placed in the said area to inform motorists of alternative routes.
Kailangan po niyo maintindihan na ang ipinresenta po ninyo is not a comprehensive program. It's not a comprehensive solution. Kulang na kulang po ang panahon.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA announced last week the closure and demolition of the 4-lane flyover on February 23. The flyover is a thoroughfare for at least 100,000 vehicles daily. The closure is a part of the ongoing construction of the Metro Rail Transit or MRT System Line 7. The agency has also stated its plan to install a permanent elevated U-turn slot at the intersection to ease traffic. Its construction, however, is seen to last for 2 years. MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia in today's hearing that the flyover's impending demolition has already been delayed for 2 weeks. He pointed out that postponing the closure anew will further delay the completion of the MRT-7 project. However, Garcia said they are amenable to the council's recommendation to defer the closure for a few days and that they will refer it to the Department of Transportation.
Pakinggan naman natin sila. I just need to relay it, no, kung anong klaseng effect ba mangyayari doon sa delay na 1 week. Pero definitely, I agree with them.
During the hearing, MMDA also presented the traffic management system they plan to implement, as well as the alternative routes, installation of traffic signage, and the deployment of traffic law enforcers in the duration of the flyover closure. Representatives from the EEI Corporation, DOTR, the Quezon City Police District, and concerned villages and homeowners group also attended the hearing. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Iconic fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld has died in Paris following a short illness. The German designer, who was the creative director for Chanel and Fendi, was one of the industry's most prolific figures and worked up until his death. His signature ponytail and dark glasses made him an instantly recognizable figure around the world. Industry heavyweights, including Italian designer Donatella Versace, issued heartfelt tributes. Up next on Y News. President Duterte slams Senator Antonio Trillanes IV for criticizing anew his war on drugs and casting doubt on his recent trip to Hong Kong. And a South African sculptor gets inspired to build a Madame Tussauds in Durban. Thank you for keeping me company in the first part of Y News. More reasons behind the stories with Angelo Castro III and William Theo after this quick break. I'm Rina Villamor Camera. Good evening.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Rina Villamor Camara left off. Mangel Diego Castro III, and here are the headlines.
Yung information na yan, meron silang iniwan na anak dito sa Pilipinas. And hopefully makita natin dahil paglaki niyan, posibleng maging potential suicide bomber din. Dahil of course, they saw it sa kanilang parents.
The Philippine National Police hunts down the alleged daughter of Holo Church suicide bombers. President Rodrigo Duterte hit Senator Antonio Trillanes IV for nitpicking on his war on drugs and casting doubt on his recent Hong Kong trip. And Malacañan emphasizes the need for the responsible release of narco list ahead of the May 13 midterm polls. The Philippine National Police, or PNP, is looking for a girl who is supposed as the child of the alleged suicide bomber couple responsible for the Holo Sulu blast. Lea Ilagan will tell us why.
In his affidavit, a suspect turned witness in Holo Sulu twin blast in January admitted that in the afternoon of January 24, he and his companions were to fetch an Indonesian couple who were coming from Zamboanga. They arrived at Taj Haji Butotiam Caltex at past 7 that night. He also stated that the Indonesian couple arrived in a tricycle along with a girl. The female was stout, about 5'4" in height, and was wearing a black shirt. The adult female was wearing a G-hub and was about 5 feet 2 inches high, while the young girl was wearing turong on her head and had brighter complexion. The suspect turned witness and his companions brought the three to Bastiong Langub Patikul Sulu. According to the police, these statements matched the narration of eyewitnesses at the blasted cathedral that a male and a female perpetrated the explosion at the Mount Carmel Cathedral in Holo Sulu.
And based on accounts and intelligence information and other accounts ng mga witnesses, talagang merong isang babae at isang lalaki. Ang lumalabas, sabi nila yung babae yun sa loob, ang lalaki yung nasa labas.
Meanwhile, the police are now in search for a girl who is supposed as the daughter of the suicide bombers. It can be noted that Interior Secretary Eduardo Años said the 10-year-old girl had been left with Abu Sayyaf sympathizers before the Holo blast. PNP Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde, for his part, said they may use samples from the girl for a DNA test to determine if she is indeed the daughter of the suicide bombers and what is their race.
Yung information na yan, meron silang iniwan na anak dito sa Pilipinas. And hopefully makita natin dahil paglaki niyan, posibleng maging potential suicide bomber din dahil of course they saw it sa kanilang parents.
The PNP chief said they must locate the girl as soon as possible to prevent her becoming influenced by terrorists and from becoming a suicide bomber in the future. General Albayalde also confirmed that parts of 4 feet recovered in the blast scene belong to a male and female suspected suicide bombers based on the result of the DNA test done in the PNP crime laboratory. He added that part of a nape found in the blast site matched that of the female feet.
So the same person, yung isang pares na pambabae at saka yung batok, yung part ng batok na nakuha. So ibig sabihin ito yung at walang nagmatch sa mga ito doon sa 23 na namatay. Walang nagmatch yung DNA nila.
The PNP chief explained authorities were able to recover the body parts of all the 23 fatalities, including those found without hands and feet. This is why bodies of a male and female remain unidentified and no one has to come forward to claim the remains.
Yung babae, ang sabi nila, hindi naman siya nagsasalita kasi ang based on witness and sources, bago-bago lang siya pumunta dito sa Pilipinas. Yung lalaki medyo matagal na, kaya nakakapagsalita na siya ng konting tausog.
General Albayalde also confirmed that the Indonesian police personnel, which has been investigating into the Bali bombing that happened in 2002, have arrived in the Philippines to take DNA samples from body parts found in the Hulosolo blast site. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
President Rodrigo Duterte remarked that Filipinos are paying a public servant who nitpick issues. Asher Cadapan Jr. will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte slammed Senator Antonio Trillanes IV anew. This following the senator's statement in which he pointed out the thousands of drug suspects killed without the conduct of due process and no opportunity for rehabilitation. Trillanes has ascribed his statement to a recent survey that reveals that majority of Filipinos say they now see fewer drug addicts in the streets. The president remarked that Senator Trillanes believes more on data coming from the administration's critics.
Stupid, Senate. And so, are you not happy that I'm doing it for you instead of you, a military idiot? You do not even know how to count. You count out to the figures of foreigners. You go to America, Trillanes.
President Duterte also did not spare Trillanes' claim that he went to Hong Kong to allegedly undergo medical checkup or to transfer funds in his bank accounts.
You take on every issue. I go to Hong Kong to celebrate the birthday of my wife because that was the order of my daughter. And the order of my daughter, just like the order of the mayor here, I follow.
Senator Trillanes is known as one of the president's unswerving detractors. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
President Rodrigo Duterte is likely to once again be a no-show at the commemoration of the EDSA People Power Revolution on February 25. Malacañan said the president is swamped with work. That is why there is no chance for him to include the said celebration in his calendar of activities. This will be the third time that the chief executive is not attending the EDSA anniversary rites since he assumed the presidency. The palace stressed that the president does not discount the essence of the EDSA People Power and that his friendship with the Marcos family has nothing to do with this non-attendance in the event. Malacañang emphasized the need for the responsible release of narco list ahead of the May 13 midterm polls. Joan Nano will tell us why.
The names of politicians or government officials involved in illegal drug operations or the narco list must be validated first before its release ahead of the May 2019 midterm elections. This is the response of presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo when asked if President Rodrigo Duterte approves the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG's proposal to release the narco list before the elections. The list includes names of politicians and public officials suspected of being involved in illegal drugs trade.
Di ba si Presidente na naglabas na rin nun? So it goes without saying. Kung si Presidente mismo naglabas.
The Philippine National Police or PNP, however, will not release any narco list. PNP Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde said that their part is only to validate the list. The PNP chief pointed out they are leaving the release of a narco list to President Rodrigo Duterte and to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA.
Tayo pag-validate lang, pero we do not maintain the list of narco politicians. What we have is yung aming list of yung counterintelligence watch list namin involving our personnel at of course yung mga non-uniform personnel namin.
PNP Chief Albayalde further stated that they have case build-up underway on personalities on the narco list, but it is not their job to publicize those names. PDEA Director General Aaron Aquino meanwhile calls on Filipinos not to vote for politicians involved in illegal drugs. Aquino had earlier said 83 politicians are on the president's narco list. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Residents in the Lone District of Muntinlupa may hope for improved basic social services once their representative Rufi Biazon wins in the upcoming elections. Maya Bermudez tells us why.
In the UNTV program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, Muntinlupa Lone District Representative Rufi Biazon said he will prioritize basic social services in his district once he gets re-elected.
Yung mga legislative objectives ko, no? Kasi kumbaga parang dalawa persona ko as a congressman. Generally, yung pang-legislative ko, malaking agenda doon is national. Tapos para naman specifically sa distrito, yung social services.
The lawmaker served as the Customs Bureau Chief from year 2011 to 2013. And even after his leadership in the Bureau of Customs or BOC, he continues to push for the BOC modernization. Biazon admits that in his current term, reforms in the agency are not stiffly implemented, despite controversies that have been hounding two of its previous commissioners.
Nakikita nyo, marami bang kumikita sa congressman na dahil sa kalokohan sa Congress?
Ayoko naman mag-point fingers, lalo na kung wala naman akong basis. Pero maraming mga nakikinabang sa kalakaran.
Ibig sabihin, maraming nakikinabang dun sa flood system.
Iba-ibang mga sektor.
Biazon has also served for 3 terms in the Lone District of Muntinlupa City and was awarded as Outstanding Congressman. He became the chairman and vice chairman of several committees in the lower house. He is the son of former Senator Rodolfo Biazon, who was elected in 1993 and served for 3 terms. Maya Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Education believes that Congress will approve the fund for the honoraria of teachers who will serve in the upcoming elections. Meanwhile, the Education Secretary reminds teachers and DepEd personnel to not be involved in any partisan political activity. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Education Secretary Leonor Briones is confident that Congress will approve the Commission on Elections or COMELEC's proposed budget for the honorario of teachers before the elections. Secretary Briones said it is unconstitutional if teachers will not be paid appropriate honoraria for teachers who will serve in the May 13, 2019 midterm elections. According to COMELEC, they still lack 3.2 billion pesos to pay for the honorario of teachers who will serve as Board of Election Inspectors.
I'm very confident na ma-approve yung budget, BICAM budget for that. Kasi constitutional kasi ang election. This is part of our democratic system. Kailangan may provision for that. Wala nang debate niyan. Kailangan talaga. At saka during the last election, when was our last election, nabayaran naman ang mga school teachers. Tapos na-increase pa yung ano nila. Na-increase pa yung kanilang honoraria.
Teachers will serve voluntarily during the elections under the Election Service Reform Act or ESRA, but are not allowed to participate in any partisan political activities. This means they cannot use their position as teachers to influence which candidate a voter should write in his ballot. Based on DepEd Order No. 48 Series of 2018, or the prohibition on electioneering and partisan political activity, a teacher or an employee of a public official is prohibited from endorsing any candidates.
Distributing handbills or leaflets, this happens during graduation times, attendance at political meetings, distributions of letters including intention to run for public office. And in our 2018 circular, we also said the use of power and influence over subordinates to influence their voting, which I added.
Meanwhile, DepEd has a proposed budget of 50 million pesos for the creation of an election task force. This means DepEd will distribute the approved fund to non-teaching personnel who will help teachers in guarding and securing schools during elections.
Napakaliit actually ng 50 million, but it is a good start para po every time may election ay mabigyan na ang Department of Education ng ganitong pondo.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The South African city of Durban is known for its port, which is the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. And in this city, a local artist wants to carve out a very different spot on the global map for Durban. Jovic Bermas will tell us why.
Artist and sculptor Langelo Gomide had his first taste of waxwork when he visited Madame Tussauds in New York in 2004 after an exhibition in which one of his paintings was featured. Since then, he could not shake off his desire to carve wax with his own hands. He returned to Durban determined to create Africa's version of the famous wax museum.
My dream is about to become true. I'm about to achieve what has been my long-term goal to actually start the Wax Museum.
His statues of local international public figures soon earned him fame and a living. On top of his creations is his passion to share his country's history and culture.
I've got statues of political figures, I've got statues of sportsmen, I've got statues of cultural figures. You know, I'm trying to do the same thing that I saw in Madame Tussauds. I'm trying to do the statues of our icons, our heroes of struggle, you know, different in different categories.
The 31-year-old is regularly commissioned by the government, private organizations, and individuals to create pieces. But the statues of icons like Nelson Mandela, Hugh Masekela, and Michael Jackson are privately funded and are being kept to eventually be exhibited in his museum. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue.
Up next on Y News. Pag-asa issues El Niño advisory as hot weather prevails in some parts of the country.
The Secretary General stresses the importance for both sides to exercise maximum restraint and take immediate steps to de-escalation.
The United Nations expresses deep concern at rising tensions between India and Pakistan. And a Hanoi barber offers free Trump and Kim-inspired haircuts ahead of the two leaders' second summit to be held in Vietnam. And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with William Thiel. I'm Angelo Diego Castro III. Good evening.